Throughout the first film, each member of the Guardians of the Galaxy and their various opponents offer several one-liners or somewhat emotional insights that capture who they are at their heart. Peter Quill, alias Star-Lord, is in the forefront of the film's sarcasm, but his squad, Rocket, Gamora, Drax, and Groot, also do well in their abilities to exhibit their personalities inside quips made throughout the film. However, not all of the main characters' remarks are amusing. Some are sincere and give greater insight into their hearts and thoughts, while others leave viewers with unanswered issues as the films go.
What should we do next? Something good? Something bad? Bit of both?
Peter Quill, the one who brought the Guardians together, has a lot of hilarious remarks. Peter Quill gave tremendous background into who he was as the primary character, whether it was sarcasm, mainly directed towards Drax, or just in the delivery of his statements to his team. Most fans believe Peter Quill's instigation of the dance-off is his most in-character moment, but the phrase that best demonstrates his personality is after they receive their new ship and he asks them what they want to do next. He's concerned about his pals and, for the first time in a long time, he's looking forward to the future. He wants to help others but is wary of doing so. When Gamora promises him they'll follow his example, it makes the moment even greater.
I may be as pretty as an angel, but I sure as hell ain't one.
Yondu is the spiteful, clever, and relatively threatening father figure of Peter Quill, and leader of the Ravagers, in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. His character development is more apparent in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Yondu's early minutes on screen establish him as a secondary enemy, but as time passes and his team discovers that he's developing feelings for Peter, the fans begin to notice as well. Fans don't get to see him until later, when he cracks the joke about appearing like an angel, that he likewise simply wants to be with his family but needs to put up a front to make sure he gets his work done. To be honest, with his trusty arrow constantly at the ready, he isn't exactly an angel.
Ain't no thing like me, except me.
Rocket, the Guardians' boldest member, dives straight into danger, and while his bravery began as a result of recklessness and greed, it eventually evolved into a result of caring for his companions. That doesn't mean he'll warm up to anyone quickly. He's prepared with a sarcastic retort in case someone offends him. His protective reaction to Peter's claim that he's a raccoon reveals his vulnerabilities, which he masks with jokes or fury. Nonetheless, he has gradually accepted that being a bounty-hunting raccoon isn't all awful and that it really distinguishes him.
You will already be dead.
Karen Gillan plays Nebula, an ex-Lufamoid assassin who works for Ronan with the ultimate purpose of killing everyone or everything that stands in the way of her tasks. Nebula prefers to avoid confronting her inner doubts, instead relying on her unmatched combat abilities and rage to get her through life. Nebula recovers the orb outside of nowhere and abandons her sister to perish in space. When Gamora says Thanos will murder everyone, Nebula corrects her since Gamora will already be dead due to Nebula's own actions. This isn't simply a synopsis of their present connection, but also of Nebula's current state of mind.
Whatever nightmares the future holds are dreams compared to what's behind me.
Gamora, played by Zoe Saldana, is a Zihabere assassin who does not reveal her true identity until the end of Guardians of the Galaxy. While some fans feel Nebula is more engaging than Gamora, Gamora's part underlines her painful history and her inability to look forward to the future. Gamora isn't delighted to be sharing a high-security jail with Rocket, Groot, and Star-Lord when they first meet. She focuses on her history, what she's lost, and what she could gain by remaining with this gang even for a moment while they mumble about how to endure their new conditions and possibly escape. This reminded viewers that there was still a lot to learn about her and that despite her bland attitude, she carried herself with a lot of weight on her shoulders and a clear purpose in mind.
Nothing goes over my head. My reflexes are too fast. I would catch it.
The Kailasian criminal and furious father called Drax the Destroyer went for Ronan and Thanos for destroying his family. Drax, played by Dave Bautista, is notorious for his inability to appreciate metaphors and his harsh statements, which get increasingly nasty as the films proceed. When Peter calls Drax a walking thesaurus and Drax becomes insulted, it's one of Drax's funniest moments in Guardians of the Galaxy and one that perfectly mixes his interplanetary species inclinations with his uniqueness. Whatever sarcasm they employ, Rocket emphasizes, it will go right over Drax's head. Drax answers with such solemnity that it nearly feels dangerous, but he doesn't realize that no one questions his reactions, only his capacity to not take things so seriously.
1,000 years of war between us will not be forgotten.
You will never rule Xandar.
No. I will cure it!
Ronan the Accuser is a Kree warlord bent on vengeance. Ronan's motivation was always personal, so when he absorbed the Power Stone into the hammer and betrayed Thanos, it was only a matter of time until retribution caught up with him. Ronan never kept his ideas and aims hidden from his friends or foes, especially when it came to declaring war and purifying over a long-standing grudge. This sentence encapsulated not just his fury, loss, and narrow-mindedness, but also his rage.
We are Groot.
I am Groot is an excellent characterization of Groot, not only because it describes his vocabulistics, but also because he can communicate a wide range of emotions, queries, and war cries with just 3 words. But it was after the struggle against Ronan, as the Dark Aster began to drop to Xandar, that a comment that fully encapsulated his character, especially his thinking in this first film. Groot just says, "We are Groot," when Rocket wonders why he would devote himself in this way. It is without a doubt one of Groot's most touching statements in the film. Fans understood that Groot thought they were a family worth rescuing and that they wouldn't be able to keep moving ahead as the nice folks they are if he didn't shield them from the fall.
But return to me again empty-handed, and I will bathe the Starways in your blood.
While Thanos doesn't get a lot of screen time in Guardians of the Galaxy, the few moments he does have are more than enough to demonstrate how terrible and ruthless he can be. He makes a direct comparison between Gamora and Nebula, something no good father would do. He's also eager to intimidate anyone he considers inept, which is precisely what he does to Ronan. Thanos assures Ronan that he is not someone who should be offended when Ronan meets him and makes various reasons focused on Gamora's treachery. His grandiose but terrifying comment about how he would bathe the stairways in Ronan's blood foreshadows the horrors that would befall the villain in the future. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you click the like button so I can feel all mushy inside. Also, click the subscribe button while you are there, and then since you are on such a clicking roll, why not click on another awesome video that is already loaded up right here. You don't even have to watch it, just let the video play at 1% while you eat your sushi or something.